In Nebraska, football is a tradition that is vital to our identity. Heroes and legends have been born between the hash marks, and on Saturdays in the fall, gathering in Memorial Stadium or following the Huskers takes on an almost sacramental quality. Surely something this ingrained in our collective culture has been around forever, right? Football came to central Nebraska in the late 1800s and would be almost unrecognizable to modern eyes. There were no shoulder pads, scant leg guards, and helmets that consisted of stocking hats stuffed with rags. Two early teams in Grand Island were frequently photographed playing the new game that had developed from English rugby: the Grand Island Baptist College team and the teams that were starting up at the Grand Island Senior High. As these teams started getting off the ground around the 1900s, some were deeply concerned about the new pastime. Often during games, there wasn't enough equipment or coaches to make a game go, much less referees. According to materials on file at the Nebraska Historical Society, the University of Nebraska football team fielded a squad without a coach who played 3 games against Crete's Doane College and 1 game against Iowa. Before the Iowa game, the coach of the Hawkeyes graciously tutored the Nebraska team before returning to his own club and directing them to a 22-0 victory over Nebraska. It wasn't until the university's 3rd season that they hired a coach by the name of J.S. Williams. Over the years, rules became more refined and uniforms more, uniform, and equipment more stable. As the game grew in popularity, there was great concern about what exactly these young men were engaged in. Following the death of a Doane College player, the Nebraska legislature in 1896 actually moved to ban football within the state. In a letter to the legislature, NU football player C.M. Skiles wrote in defense of the sport, "The lovers of football will have no lobbyists to work against the bill. The galleries will doubtlessly be filled with sentimentalists who will applaud the speakers and call the game brutal and the players prize fighters. But the plaudits would be just as loud if you were speaking in favor of a bill to prohibit girls from chewing gum. You may strike down the game, but if you do, you destroy the game that has done more to create an interest in athletic sports in our schools than all other games combined." Dr. H.B. Ward, a zoology professor and dean of the Medical College at Nebraska, also weighed in, proclaiming, "American youth, being full of red corpuscles and vinegar, must have some strenuous method of venting his exuberant energies, or he will take to drink and other forms of wickedness." Of course, the state did not ban football, and soon young men flocked to the game, and some of the early teams weren't so bad. The 1906 Grand Island High School team, who shot their yearbook photo holding an unidentified pooch, went 5-2 that year, including a pounding of Hastings High School, their chief gridiron rivals. A photo of the 1912 Grand Island High School team also shows them holding a game ball which reads, "Gish 16, Hastings 7. It seems from these photos that rivalry is built into the game. Football still looked very different as late as 1924, where heavy wool sweaters still stood in for shoulder pads. One photo taken during that year of the Grand Island Baptist College in their game against Chadron State, you can see leather helmets were the norm through the referees had yet to don the black and white, opting instead for an entirely white uniform. Ads from the time showed a football uniform including padded trousers for $2.50, a pair of football stockings for $1.50, a pair of cleats for $7.50, and helmets known as Spalding head harnesses, made from firm black tanned leather, which ran $5 apiece. As football grew, particularly within the university system, upgrades were needed, leading to talk of a football stadium. In arguing for such a structure, a journalist for Vanity Fair wrote in November of 1932 that the stadium would be a good idea because it takes the ranch hand from Cherry County, the sugar beet laborer from the western panhandle, and the packing house boy from South Omaha, and for 3 months each fall makes them a crusading host for the defense of Nebraska honor. You can find out more at StourMuseum.org.